Boarded up storefronts, sirens echoing down empty boulevards, families packing their lives into moving trucks and never looking back. This isn't some dystopian film. This is America, right now. Once thriving states, economic powerhouses, cultural capitals are slowly unraveling before our very eyes. Behind the skyscrapers and sunny coastlines, there's another story of rising crime, shattered infrastructure, and entire communities silently falling apart. How did we get here? Today we expose 10 US states that are collapsing in real time. If you thought the decline was just about one or two cities, think again. This crisis is bigger than you realize, and it just might be heading your way. Let's start with a state that was once the embodiment of the American dream and is now waking up to a nightmare. Number 1. California. California. Palm trees, billion-dollar tech empires, Hollywood dreams. But just drive through downtown Los Angeles or San Francisco today, and you'll see something else entirely. Tents line the sidewalks, skyscrapers sit half-empty, and people? They're leaving. In droves. In 2024 alone, over 340,000 residents fled California, citing crime, unaffordable housing, and a declining quality of life. San Francisco's office vacancy rate, it soared past 36% and home prices dropped by 10%, a signal investors are bailing. But the real crisis? It's human. California has over 181,000 homeless people, the highest in the nation, more than 29% of all unhoused Americans. And despite billions spent, the numbers keep climbing. Even major companies like Tesla and Oracle relocated their headquarters, escaping crushing taxes and safety concerns. Remote work gutted the cities and crime scared away the rest. And the cost of living? Astronomical. A single-bedroom apartment in LA now averages $2,800 a month while median household income hasn't kept up. So ask yourself, if a state with the fifth largest economy in the world is cracking under pressure, what hope is there for the rest? Number 2, Illinois. Welcome to Illinois, or rather, the Illinois people are running away from. Over 100,000 residents left the state in 2024, one of the highest outbound migration rates in the country. Why? Let's start with Chicago, the beating heart of the state. A city now weighed down by fear and debt. Chicago's violent crime rate remains one of the highest in the nation. Its homicide rate surpasses both New York and Los Angeles combined. Families no longer feel safe. Businesses are shuttering early. Tourists? They're choosing other destinations. Then there's the money problem. Illinois has some of the highest property taxes in the country. And yet, roads are crumbling, schools are underfunded, and the state pension crisis looms like a ticking time bomb, with over $139 billion in unfunded liabilities. And here's the twist. Even Chicago's glittering downtown isn't immune. Storefronts are empty, office towers sit quiet, major corporations are quietly relocating. The very backbone of the city, its middle class, is disappearing. People aren't just leaving for better weather, they're fleeing for a chance to survive. Number 3, New York. New York, the city that never sleeps. But lately it's been tossing and turning in chaos. Since 2020, over 545,000 residents have left the New York metropolitan area, the largest population decline of any U.S. city. They're not just relocating for fun, they're running from sky-high rent, rising crime, and a crumbling sense of community. In Manhattan, office vacancy hit 22% in early 2025, with Midtown towers collecting dust instead of rent. Remote work drained the workforce, and once vibrant neighborhoods now echo with silence. Housing? A disaster. While other states saw prices adjust, New York remains one of the least affordable housing markets in the world. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in NYC is $3,500 plus, pricing out even middle-class families. But what's worse? The subway system is failing. Daily delays, safety incidents, and budget shortfalls have made commuting a nightmare. Meanwhile, the city's unemployment rate hovers above 6.4%, well over the national average. And the streets? Crime rates in parts of Brooklyn and the Bronx have surged. Theft, assault, even random subway attacks have become disturbingly common. Once a global beacon of opportunity, New York is now a cautionary tale of what happens when infrastructure, economy, and trust all erode at the same time. Number 4, Louisiana. Drive through Baton Rouge or New Orleans and it hits you. Louisiana never fully bounced back. Hurricane Katrina struck nearly 2 decades ago, but large swaths of New Orleans still look frozen in time. Vacant homes, broken streets, and neighborhoods that never saw recovery funds. Between 2022 and 2024, Louisiana lost over 75,000 residents, and over 19% of housing units in New Orleans remain vacant, one of the highest rates in the country. Crime? Devastating. In 2023, New Orleans had the highest homicide rate per capita in the U.S., with 70 murders per 100,000 residents. Baton Rouge isn't far behind. Public services, failing. Nearly 35% of Louisiana's roads are in poor condition, and schools are ranked among the lowest in the nation. Over 26% of children live below the poverty line, and infrastructure investment continues to lag. And the future? Bleak. Louisiana's coastal regions are sinking quite literally. Sea level rise is swallowing land, with the state losing an area the size of a football field every 100 minutes due to erosion and climate change. And yet, state officials struggle to retain talent, rebuild trust, or stop the outflow of skilled workers. When even time and nature seem to be against you, how do you rebuild? Number 5. Oregon. Once a haven for artists, environmentalists, and free thinkers, Oregon is now losing the very people who gave it a soul. Portland, the state's urban heartbeat, has witnessed a staggering shift. Between 2020 and 2024, Multnomah County alone lost over 30,000 residents, many citing homelessness, crime, and an unrecognizable cityscape as the reasons. Why? Because downtown Portland is in freefall. Once thriving areas like the Pearl District are now lined with vacant storefronts, encampments, and boarded-up businesses. According to Oregon's own Department of Housing, homelessness jumped by over 29% from 2022 to 2024, and the state ranks third nationally in unsheltered homeless population per capita. But that's not all. Drug overdose deaths, particularly from fentanyl, have tripled in just 2 years, overwhelming local emergency services and exposing a crumbling public health infrastructure. Meanwhile, the state's famed education system is cracking. In 2023, Oregon had one of the worst high school graduation rates in the country, just 80% compared to the national average of 87%. And the final blow? Tax base collapse. As businesses flee and population shrinks, Portland's projected budget deficit for 2025 ballooned to $450 million, threatening core city services. It's a bitter irony. A place once hailed for its progressiveness now feels abandoned by progress itself. Number 6. Michigan. Michigan's story is more than Detroit. It's about a state whose wounds from industrial decline still bleed, decades later. Let's talk facts. Since 2000, Michigan has lost over 1 million residents, and the majority haven't returned. In 2024, Michigan's population growth remained flat, even as other states began to bounce back from the pandemic era. Detroit remains the symbol of decline. Once America's automotive crown jewel, today it holds a commercial vacancy rate over 30%. Over 60,000 properties in Detroit are classified as vacant or abandoned, according to the city's own blight report. But it's not just Detroit. Flint, Michigan is still reeling from its water crisis, which exposed over 100,000 residents to lead contamination. Trust in government? Gone. Recovery? Incomplete. As of 2025, nearly 20% of Flint homes still don't have clean, safe drinking water. Meanwhile, job prospects across the state remain limited. Michigan's unemployment rate lingers near 5.8%, with most growth in low-wage sectors. And with inflation pushing up prices while wages stagnate, more families are sliding into poverty. Education? Also in trouble. Michigan ranks in the bottom third nationally in K-12 performance. Teachers are leaving, districts are consolidating, and rural schools are vanishing altogether. When a state loses faith in its future, it doesn't just decline, it disintegrates. And that's what we're watching happen to Michigan in real time. Number 7. Alabama. You don't need to visit a war zone to witness devastation. Just drive through parts of Alabama. Here's the truth. Alabama has one of the highest poverty rates in America. Over 16.7% in 2024, according to U.S. Census data. In rural counties like Wilcox and Perry, that number jumps to nearly 30%. Whole communities are disappearing, not from disaster, but from neglect. Infrastructure? Crumbling. Over 20% of bridges in the state are rated as structurally deficient. Roads are scarred, public transit is nearly non-existent outside a few cities, and internet access. In vast stretches of rural Alabama, broadband still isn't available. In 2025, now imagine trying to raise a family there. Healthcare is another ticking time bomb. Since 2010, 19 hospitals have shut down in rural Alabama, leaving some counties with no emergency services at all. Maternal mortality? Among the worst in the country. And in 2024, the state ranked dead last in overall public health outcomes. Education paints an even darker picture. Alabama's public schools are chronically underfunded and the state ranks 48th in math proficiency. In many counties, dropout rates are soaring and teacher shortages are now permanent. Then there's the justice system. Overcrowded prisons, outdated laws, and deeply entrenched inequality make Alabama one of the most legally oppressive states in America. So, ask yourself, what happens when an entire region feels forgotten by time, money, and leadership because Alabama isn't standing still, it's falling behind, fast. Number 8. Alaska. From the sky, Alaska looks untouched, majestic, wild. But down on the ground, life is unraveling. Let's start with the basics. Alaska has lost more than 20,000 residents since 2020, a significant drop for a state with under 750,000 people. The cost of living is among the highest in the U.S., with groceries costing 40 to 50% more than the national average due to isolation and extreme weather. And wages? They're not keeping up. Even essential workers like teachers and nurses are leaving. Why? Because their pay can't compete with rising housing costs and basic expenses. Healthcare? In crisis. Many rural villages have no hospitals at all. Residents have to fly hundreds of miles for treatment. Mental health care is stretched to the brink with suicide rates nearly twice the national average, particularly in indigenous communities. And climate change? It's not a future threat in Alaska, it's present tense. Thawing permafrost is destroying homes, roads, and pipelines. In 2024 alone, over 120 Alaskan communities were flagged for severe environmental risk, many facing potential relocation. Meanwhile, the oil industry, Alaska's economic backbone, is shrinking. With energy prices fluctuating and new drilling under fire, revenue is drying up. The state's permanent fund dividend shrank for the third year in a row, and budget deficits are now threatening schools, public safety, and infrastructure. And here's the haunting part. Many towns like Nome or Bethel now face existential questions. Do we rebuild or do we abandon? When America's last frontier becomes too fragile to live in, what comes next? Number 9. Mississippi. Step into Mississippi and you're stepping into a time warp, one where poverty, segregation, and inequality never quite left. This isn't just storytelling, it's reality. Mississippi has the highest poverty rate in the United States, sitting at 19.4% in 2024 according to U.S. Census data. For black residents, that number is even worse, with many rural counties hovering above 30%. Generations are being born into poverty, live through it, and die in it. The economy, strangled. Mississippi ranks 50th in median household income. Wages are stagnant, job growth is minimal, and many counties have no significant private employers at all. It's not uncommon to see high school graduates leave and never look back. But the collapse doesn't stop there. Education in Mississippi is in crisis. In the National Assessment of Educational Progress, the state ranks among the bottom 5 in both reading and math. Teacher shortages are chronic. School buildings are literally falling apart. And even with hardworking educators trying to hold the line, the funding just isn't there. And the water? In Jackson, the capital city, over 160,000 residents were left without clean drinking water during a 2022 crisis caused by a decades-old, failing system. Fast forward to 2025 and repairs are still temporary, still insufficient. Healthcare is collapsing too. With some of the highest rates of diabetes, heart disease, and infant mortality in the country, access to care is life or death here. But over a dozen rural hospitals are on the brink of closure. People drive hours for basic care, if they're lucky. Mississippi is not collapsing overnight. It's been slowly bleeding out for decades, while the rest of the country looks away. Number 10. West Virginia. Welcome to West Virginia, where coal once built cities, and now its ghost haunts the ruins. Let's start with this. West Virginia has lost over 100,000 residents since 2010, making it one of the fastest shrinking states in the U.S. Entire counties have seen their populations cut in half. Why? Because jobs disappeared, and nothing came to replace them. Coal was king. But now, mines are closing, automation is rising, and demand is falling. Between 2012 and 2023, over 60% of mining jobs vanished, and with them went the lifeblood of entire towns. Places like Logan, McDowell, and Boone counties are now filled with shuttered storefronts and abandoned homes, and the opioid crisis hit here harder than almost anywhere else in America. West Virginia still has the highest overdose death rate per capita. In some counties, funerals for young adults have become heartbreakingly common. The addiction crisis didn't just wound this state, it hollowed it out. Education is collapsing too. With teacher shortages, poor broadband access, and some of the lowest test scores in the nation, young people are leaving. Those who stay, often trapped in a cycle of generational poverty, addiction, or unemployment. The infrastructure a disaster, rural roads are cracked and broken, bridges are crumbling, and broadband, the key to modern opportunity, is still out of reach in many regions. How do you build a future when you can't even get online? And yet West Virginians are resilient. They've weathered disasters before, but resilience needs help, investment, vision. And the question remains, when an entire state becomes a cautionary tale, who steps in to stop the fall? 10 states, 10 cries for help, and millions of lives caught in the silence. From crumbling hospitals in Mississippi to the echoing emptiness of West Virginia's coal towns, this isn't just decline, it's unraveling. And what's worse, most of America isn't watching, but you are. The truth is, these states didn't fall overnight. They were neglected, ignored, and left to weather storm after storm alone. But if we continue to look away, what other places will quietly slip through the cracks? If this video opened your eyes, share it, because awareness is the first step to change. Subscribe to stay informed. Comment below what's happening in your state, and most importantly, don't turn away because the next state to collapse could be yours. Thanks for watching. Stay aware, stay awake.